When a child rests next to their dead, something extraordinary occurs, dog. What happens next is just amazing. The sky was decorated by the final rays of sunshine in gentle oranges and pinks, creating a cozy radiance over Willow, a tiny rural town. 11-year-old Lily of Creek clung to Max's leash, her faithful German. She had been with Shepherd Max since she was a newborn, a staunch guardian, he had been her source of joy. Lonely nights, skinned knees, and even her father passed away a few years ago. Lily whispered on Max, her voice faltering. Just one more stroll across the field. Then we're going home. She saw his. He walked more slowly than normal, and his ears, not as energetic as they used to be, yet she attempted to emphasize the idea of his aging, putting aside, as they traveled over the lawn, the recognizable rustle of the tall grasses. Wind delivered a momentary calmness for a short while. Lily thought everything was perfect at that moment. The planet, followed by Max's actions, became unpredictable and staggered, collapsing beneath him and giving out. Lily sobbed and fell on the ground. Her hands went to her knees next to him, feverishly rubbed his now wet fur. Tears clouded her eyes as she perspired. Gently shook him to get Max to wake up. His breathing was laborious and shallow, and everything halted in a matter of seconds. Lily rubbed her face against his while they were together. Her tiny form is racked with tears. And you, I need you, she whispered, and you can't leave me. Then, as though the cosmos had heard, during her sobs, a dim golden light started to glow from Max's body. Lily raised her up. Her tear-streaked face was lit by the enigmatic radiance made her breath catch. When she observed the light intensifying, giving Max a feeling of warmth that appeared to throb as vibrantly as the golden light. Lily held her breath as she surrounded Max, not sure what was going on in the meadow. Seems to hum with a vitality she couldn't describe, and for a brief, her surroundings seemed to be suspended in moment when she marveled at Max's chest. Rose muttered, ever so faintly. Her voice quivered with dread and I hope Max made a quiet gasping noise. Lily gasped as his eyelids fluttered open. She covered her mouth with her flying hands, was shocked by what she was witnessing in Max. Max's beautiful brown eyes were lively, encountered hers, and despite his weakness there, possessed a spark that hadn't been. Lily whispered, there before, you're okay? Her cheeks were wet with tears as she bent over to give him a tender hug. You're back. Max attempted to raise his head slowly. Lily's body shook with exertion, swiftly rose up to give him room, but remaining near enough to help him take. Buddy, it's slow, she remarked, her voice full of with support. You can succeed. Max eventually succeeded in standing up. Lily watched him, wobbly but holding. Her heart was beating rapidly. His movements seemed strange, were thoughtful but cautious with his ears, alert as he looked across the field with a. Lily felt a strange sense of heightened alertness. She felt a chill go through her body, but she didn't understand what had recently transpired. But she was aware. It was remarkable when they came home. Sarah, Lily's mother, was. Her face was waiting on the porch, worried right first when she observed Lily's cheeks streaked with tears and Max's. Slow gait. Lily, what's going on? Is Max all right? Sarah said as she hurried down the stairs. Lily hesitated to greet them, uncertain of how could she describe what she had seen. He fell, and she whispered, I thought Mom lost him, but then something occurred. He is still alive, but Sarah is changed. Kneeling, she ran her hands over Max's. He huffed softly as he leaned into. Sarah said, her touch seems fine now, despite her troubled brow. We should watch him that evening. As Lily, as she laid in bed, Questions ran through her head. Was it simply what had brought Max back? Luck? Or did she have additional? Played back the scene in the field, and the buzz and the golden light over the air. Everything seemed so unreal that she was unable to dispel the impression that something bigger was playing when Lily woke up the following morning to discover Max sitting with his tail by her bed. He appeared stronger as he waved gently. His coat was healthier than it had been in months, appeared brighter and more shiny. Lily reached to give him a pet, and the moment her hand made an odd contact with his fur, a tingling feeling went through her, her palm causing her to reflexively retreat. What was it she was whispering and looking at? Max cocked his head in her hand as though seeing her bewilderment all day. Lily observed other changes in Max. Appeared more vivacious and conscious of his conditions when they got outdoors. He pulled her toward him by tugging at the leash. The field, as though he was attempting to show her, but Lily wasn't certain. By the afternoon, she was unable to. Don't pay attention to his demands anymore, okay? She grabbed Max's leash and said, "Let's go." It was quiet in the meadow back when they reached the same golden field that was stretching out in front of them, but Lily was walking. Started observing something she hadn't previously observed in the location where Max had fell, scorching the grass in a. She knelt down in a peculiar circular fashion, stroking the burned area with her fingertips, blades, and felt that strange feeling again. What's this tingly feeling, Max? Max stood motionless as he looked at him, ears pricked, looking fixedly at the. Lily's heart pounded in the burned area as she knew that this place had more to offer. The air felt more than she had ever experienced, energized like though it contained a secret. She didn't comprehend that it was simply out of reach. Not yet, but she was resolved to find out. The reality is Lily knelt beside the chart. A gentle breeze flowed through the circle, moving across the field with a little vibration that caused the back hair to stand on end. She looked at her neck stand on end, surrounding, but the meadow remained even. The birds appeared to have quieted down as, despite the fact that the world was holding its. Max. Lily looked at her and murmured his breath. Dog who stayed frighteningly intent on the location of what's happening here, Max. Low when his tail stiffens and his. Lily followed, her eyes focused on the horizon. His eyes, but found nothing out of the ordinary, simply the same undulating fields that she'd consistently. Even now, the sensation in the air was. There was no denying that something had changed. Without quite comprehending why, Lily stretched inside the circle that was charred and felt the tingling sensation when it touched the earth, returned, spreading up her arm this time, and making her chest feel heated. Her breath caught as she swiftly withdrew, taking her hand away and looking at the floor as, even though it could move under her. I don't get it, Max, she urged in a shaky voice. However, I believe we should be here. Max abruptly snapped Lily with a bark. She glanced at him out of her thoughts, shocked, and noticed that his posture had. His ears were turned forward, and his tail waggled a little, as though he was encouraging her to take action, but she, unable to determine what you wanted me to do, she asked half jokingly, to dig. Naturally, hands grabbed for the earth. Max let out another bark, this time more. Lily paused excitedly before starting to remove the topmost layer of soil with a scraper. The earth felt softer than she had anticipated. It was almost like it wanted to be. After a few minutes, she was exposed. The touch of fingers on a hard surface. And smooth. She stopped. What was she? Whispered as she brushed away more dirt. Hands revealed a little circular object now. It was smooth and bigger than a baseball, like gleaming stone, and gleamed dimly. Golden in color, the same warmth she'd seemed to emanate from it before, causing her to feel both amazed and uneasy. Max lowered his head and wheezed once again. Smell the thing he didn't touch. However, it was evident from his body language that he realized it, or at least he comprehended. Lily didn't like it in a way, boy remarked, carefully taking up the stone. Lily knelt by. So let's take this home. The charred circle was washed by a gentle breeze, moving across the field with a little vibration that caused the back hair to stand on end. She looked at her neck stand on end, surrounding, but the meadow remained even. The birds appeared to have quieted down even though the entire world was awaiting. Max Lily looked at her and murmured his breath. Dog who stayed frighteningly intent on the location of what's happening here, Max. His tail was rigid and he let out a faint whine. Lily followed, her eyes focused on the horizon. His eyes, but found nothing out of the ordinary simply. The same undulating fields that she'd consistently. Even now, the sensation in the air there was no denying that something had changed. Without quite comprehending why, Lily stretched inside the circle that was charred and felt the tingling sensation when it touched the earth, returned, spreading up her arm this time, and making her chest feel heated. Her breath caught as she swiftly withdrew, taking her hand away and looking at the floor even though it could move under her. I don't get it, Max, she urged in a shaky voice. However, I believe we should be here, Max yelled, abruptly yanking Lily away from her thoughts. She gave him a shocked look. I noticed that his posture had changed. His tail was waving and his ears were forward. He seemed to be nudging her a little to take action, but she was unable to. She inquired, "What do you want me to dig?" She was half joking with her hands. Max reached for the soil out of instinct, barked once again, with greater excitement this time. After hesitating, Lily started to scrape away. The soil's uppermost layer was softer than she anticipated, nearly as even if it desired to be discovered following her fingertips touched for a few minutes. She froze something smooth and hard. Is that what she muttered, ignoring more? Dirt. She found a smaller round in her palms. It was an object a little bigger than a baseball, like polished stone, smooth and subtly, shone with the same warmth and a golden tint. It appeared to emanate from her before. From it, giving her a mixture of amazement and Max wetted uneasily once again, dropping his head to sniff the non-touchable object. However, it was evident from his body language that he realized it, or at least he comprehended. Lily didn't like it in a way, boy remarked, carefully taking up the stone. Lily, let's take this home that evening. Put the stone on her nightstand. However, it wasn't always easy to fall asleep. When she shut her eyes, she caught glimpses of. She could hear faint whispers in the light. When she eventually wandered, they barely made out. Her dreams were disturbing and vivid. The woman was standing in the field. Max was surrounded by a golden light. His gaze met hers there, but when she touched him, but he disappeared. He was replaced by a dark figure that, shaped vague, but it's there. Unquestionably, the figure held up a hand. You gestured to the stone in her palm. Must select a voice that is heard through Lily. Couldn't determine whether the figure was the source, or from her own thoughts. Balance needs to be restored when Lily woke up the following morning. The words from her dream began. Her ears were still ringing, so she looked at. The stone's radiance has dimmed, yet it is still. Max was currently lying at the foot of her bed. His eyes were open, and he was closely observing her. We must return, Lily murmured out loud, like if Max could see why his tail was wagging. Moment a tacit understanding is reached between the. Lily felt the same electric sensation in the meadow. She carried the stone with the energy in the air. It's always warm in her pocket, a reminder of her mystery. Max's LED's movements are being removed, intentional as if he was fully aware of what to do after they reached the stone started to pulse in a burned circle. Lily, the dim glimmer is getting stronger, removed it and grasped it in her hand. sensation of the warm, tingling warmth spreading. Once more through her, she knelt in the circle's center and positioned the stone on the floor. As soon as it struck the ground, the wind increased, circling them in a manner that seemed the golden light resurfaced, nearly alive, more radiant than before, and Max yelled a voice breaking through the weird murmur. It came from the light and filled the air. When the dark figure appeared, it was more solid yet clearer this time. You were the key, yet your face stayed hidden. The apparition spoke in a low voice, but what was stolen has been resonant. Repaid, however, there is a fee for the balance. Lily's heart was pounding. What do you mean? Expanse, the figure indicated Maximus, who calmly, yet attentively, stood next to her. Life was brought back with the help of current location, yet it is unable to support him. You must always choose whether to let him go or risk the equilibrium being. Tears filled Lily's eyes as she felt broken. Eyes let go of him. I'm not sure why. Occurs if I don't. The figure did not provide a direct response. Rather, it stated that nothing comes back without Lee's breath. The decision is yours. The golden light became stuck in her throat, around Max, illuminating his body in a manner that gave him an airy appearance. The utterances of the almost unearthly. Nothing resonated in her mind as the figure returns aimlessly. She glanced down at Max, who sat quietly beside her. When our soulful eyes meet, I can't let go, Lily whispered to him, tears pouring down her cheeks. He's my best friend, and he's my family. Max cocked his head, seemingly. He stressed his understanding of her suffering, softly pressing her head against her leg as a sign of assurance despite the fact that doubt. You claimed that he was healed. Lily spoke in a shaky voice as she discussed the figure. Why is it necessary to? Came at a price he didn't request, and the figure didn't stand either. Still, its presence is reassuring and disturbing life's equilibrium, and the energy that was provided must be preserved, must be returned as well. If you decide to retain him, the disparity will increase, and it will impact everything, not just you. Lily's heart ached around you, and she fell to her knees, encircling them with her arms. Max gave her a gentle nuzzle with his warm, a bittersweet breath against her face. Reminder of their relationship that I don't know whether I can pull this off, she whispered. I've already lost so much, my voice is failing. It's like losing everything when you lose him. Max gently growled, yanking her away from her. In desperation, he moved toward the shimmering stone and looked in her direction. His eyes glowed with serene approval. He seemed to be suggesting that it's all right. You'll be fine, even though the wind got stronger, circling the field as though requesting for her to decide on the figure. Move closer, reaching out an arm to the stone that pulsated more intensely with every second that goes by. You have to select the figure repeats in order to maintain human, but letting go means respecting the gift. He gave you Lily's hands, and she sobbed. She groped for the stone, trembling. The warmth of it permeated her, not only filling her up both physically and emotionally. Remembering Max from the first day she brought the innumerable, their combined adventures and the comfort he had provided her throughout her most lonely times. With a quivering voice, indicating that she at last stated that if I release him, will he be at? The person lowered its head in peace. He will be somewhat with the person he is supposed to be. His vitality will return to the equilibrium, and he will always be a part of. Lily gazed at Max with her heart, whispering, I love you, buddy. Max stepped. You have my undying love. Forward, using his nose to prod her hand. Lily put the stone back one last time, in the circle's center as the golden light touched the ground, burst outward, engulfing Max in a glowing light. Lily covered her eyes as, when it did, the light became blinding. Nevertheless, the meadow remained. The stone had disappeared, as had the charred rings. Max was dead and cold on the ground, was briefly absent from view. The deafening silence was followed by a gentle breeze, moved over the field, bringing with it a feeling of tranquility. Lily experienced the warmth of, pressed it to her skin as if Max was. She knelt there, still keeping watch over her, where he had been standing, gripping the dead stone against her chest. "Thank you," she said in a tearful murmur, falling unrestrained for anything. The figure was gone, leaving Lily alone herself beneath the starry sky. But when she got up and started on her way home, she experienced an unusual strength accumulating inside her. Max had been her buddy and anchor. His spirit would now live as her protection, on directing her in directions she hadn't yet comprehend. In the days that followed, Lily was attracted to the meadow, having a peaceful connection to the location, where everything was different. The stone was still on her nightstand, although its radiance has faded. Its importance, inscribed in her heart forever. Max was gone from her side, and she sensed his presence everywhere within the cozy sun. The sound of the leaves rustling and the soft wind that seemed to murmur to her name. Although the sorrow was intense, so was the thank you for the gift Max gave her. Beyond his friendship, the bravery to letting go and realizing that love, granted, never really fad. Lily stood one final time in the grass. When she shut her eyes and experienced the wind embrace her, "You'll be with her forever." "Me," she murmured quietly, her smile bursting, despite her tears. And at that precise moment she realized that the days had become weeks, and even though Lily's, she started to find comfort as her heart lingered in Max's recollections of his agricultural life. Every routine as a reminder of his absence, but it also serves as evidence of the time. The meadow where it all began was shared by them, occurred and turned into a space for introspection, a sacred space that contained both for her, an evening of suffering and tranquility as the sun painted the horizon while dipping below it. Crimson lilies stood in hues of gold in the sky. The breeze near the meadow's edge had the aroma of wild flowers, and she held the tall grass as it gently moved. The surface of the stone in her hands now, smooth and cold, although its mass appeared to bear the weight of her experience as she looked at where Max had been, surrounded by the lily felt's golden radiance. Strange clarity in the words of the nothing resonated in her mind as the figure returns aimlessly. What had Max's return and his departure actually signified? What was it he was attempting to show her? The response came gradually, like the ascent of Max had taught her the early sun. Love's worth, not just the love they'll shared, but her lifelong love. He had consistently been a source of ease and happiness, and even in his last, he had given her a gift at one point, the knowledge that love, when freely supplied, causes significantly more reverberations than is visible or quantifiable. The farm started to feel distinct from Lily, as though she began with a renewed energy that it carried. More time spent outside caring for the fields, reestablishing their connection with the beats of the planet. The creatures appeared to react to her in a different way, as though detecting her change. The once quiet girl suddenly exuded a silent power, a resilience derived from acceptance and loss. She was fixing the fence one day. A stray dog showed up close to the pasture at the property's boundary, where its coat was. Its frame was narrow and matted, yet its eyes contained a glimmer of life that, at once, she caught Lily's interest. Cautiously approached, whispering quietly to, "Hey," the dog with the tentatively waving tail. Lily knelt down there and said, "She holds out her hand, and you appear to have." The dog sniffed her after she had gone through a lot. Hand and then nuzzled it, showing trust. Lily felt more rapidly than she had anticipated. She felt a comforting warmth in her chest. Relationship she hadn't experienced since Max. She brought the dog without hesitation, supplying it with food, water, and a resting place for the upcoming weeks. Rusty, the dog she named, turned into Lily's new friend, albeit distinct. From Max, Rusty offered a fresh form of happiness, bringing vitality to the farm. He played spirit and a nearly supernatural capacity to discern Lily's feelings and provide her with Lily comfort when she most needed it. Frequently found herself conversing with Rusty about Max, telling tales of their experiences and the connection they had formed. Seems to preserve Max's memory alive while welcoming the upcoming phase of one afternoon while strolling about her existence. Rusty Lily felt as they walked across the field an unexpected gust of wind that appeared to carry a whisper. Her heart skipped a beat and she paused, beat and scanned the surrounding air, charged as it had on the evening of. Rusty barked at Max's miraculous return. His ears perked up quietly, as though he too. Lily knelt next to him after sensing something, stroking his fur with her fingers. "You sense it too," she said in a voice. The breeze is barely more than a whisper, whirled around them, and briefly, Lily believed she had a glimpse of, at the meadow's edge, golden light. It was subtle, nearly undetectable, but it was plenty to make her grin. Lily stood gazing at the horizon. Warm light from the setting sun is shining across. "Thank you, Max," she murmured quietly. The fields, the wind carried her voice for. Rusty barked and wiggled once more. Lily chuckled at the sound of his tail. Free and bright, she turned back to the farm with her new friend at her side, and left the meadow where she was, heart full of hope and thankfulness. But Max passed away, yet his memory endured in the teachings on love that he imparted to her, carried, and in the relationship she kept constructing. The golden meadow would be a part of her heart forever. However, Lily understood that the finest way to pay tribute Max was to continue walking forward while hugging. He had assisted her in rediscovering the. As the seasons changed, so did the rhythms of agricultural life changed. Additionally, the meadow used to be lively with the golden wildflowers started to disappear into mellow tones as autumn took over. Max's recollection persisted throughout Lily, but it didn't feel as heavy anymore, and more like a kind friend, a remembrance of the love that molded her, and the lessons she continued to teach. Quickly, Rusty makes her new four-legged pal become an essential aspect of her everyday existence. His boundless enthusiasm and light-hearted antics gave the property a sense of lightness that had been absent since Max left. He possessed a talent for identifying Lily's feelings, constantly giving a tail wag or giving her reassurance when she needed it. Lily was strolling on a very clear morning with Rusty across the meadow when she observed an oddity in the area where the golden light was. Max appeared different in the surrounding. The grass was remarkably lush and colorful, contrasting with the rest of the. Lily squatted in the field and ran after her, running fingers over the blades and sensing an unexpected warmth coming from the. Curious, she chose to dig lightly. Under the surface, with her hands, she discovered a tiny item with a smooth, polished stone similar to the one that she had previously discovered, that it had a little golden color, and when she grasped it, she experienced a tingling sensation that is familiar. Using her hand, Rusty gave a low bark, sitting next to her, vigilant, look as if he understood as well the importance of the finding. Lily In her palms, she flipped the stone over, heat radiating from her palms. The feeling was soothing, almost like, what was Max doing with her again? Rusty asked, do you think, while holding the stone to the light, is this an indication that the dog barked once more and waggled his tail, eyes that shined so brightly that Lily grinned as she tucked the stone inside her pocket, and there was a feeling of a calm resolve descended upon her. This had a unique quality, put something she hadn't finished, comprehend, but she was prepared to put her trust in. The trip over the next few days, Lily started to spend more time in the field. She was carrying a notebook, drawing the patterns she observed in the grass and writing down what she was thinking. A slight hum seemed to emanate from stone whenever she held it, and despite her inability to articulate its importance, she experienced an unwavering link to it one night when the sun sank beneath the horizon. Lily, who was seated at the Rusty alongside her at the edge of the meadow. The sky side was painted in shades of. The air was fresh, and the colors were orange and purple. She carried the aroma of fall in her hands. The stone in her hand has a slight shine, but calm, and she shut her eyes in silence. She sensed a change in gentle breeze with a familiar warmness that resembles an embrace for a. She believed she heard a whisper for a second. ER was brief and dim, but sufficient to cause her to cry, "Thank you, Max," she whispered, her voice shaking with feeling for everything. As the weeks went on into months and the field kept on, be a space for introspection and learning. Because Rusty stayed faithful to Lily, partner, and the two of them maneuvered the shifting seasons, discovering happiness in the tiny moments and peace in the silence. The farm's splendor notwithstanding the mystery of the stone and the golden glow persisted. Lily was no longer in need of specific responses. She had discovered to faith in the relationships she had with Max, with Rusty, and the surrounding environment. It taught her about love and, as a reminder of resilience, even in there's always a way to deal with loss. Going ahead as winter drew near and Lily, the first snowflakes started to fall, stood once at the meadow's edge. The stone rested next to her, more rusty, comfortably nestled in her pocket, its warmth she was always there and looked out for. At the now white-covered field and experienced a profound sense of calm. Rusty. Her voice was calm, but gentle as she continued, "Let's return home." And as they made their way back to the golden light of Memory Farmhouse, and love illuminated the way as it followed them. Next, Lily's trip with Rusty and Max serves as a reminder of the strong ties we communicate to our dogs, the strength we discover in their affection, even if they're not true love that is physically apart from us. Ultimately, it never really fades, changes, and leads us in unexpected ways. If you were moved by this story, I would love to hear your opinions in the comments below. Have you ever had an inseparable bond with a pet? Tell us about yourself, and let's keep this going. A loving and inspiring community, expanding. And whether you found this video enjoyable, remember to subscribe and leave a like. Visit our channel and press the alert bell so that you don't miss another sincere. We are so grateful for your support, and it enables us to present additional tales such as. Thank you for being a part of this life, of this adventure. See you in the following video.